Hi everyone, welcome back to Wilde Reads. My name is Dave. Welcome back to another video. I know it's quite early in the month, but there are quite a few books that I've acquired already this month. Some of these are a bit of a hauling hangover from last month. So I didn't want to bombard you with 3 book hauls last month. So I thought that I would hold some back. There's a bit of a mixture. There's a few books from publishers. There are a few books that I've bought brand new. And there are the usual charity shop bookie bargains. What would this channel be without a charity shop bookie bargain? Okay, so let's start with the new books. So the first book that I bought, these are all new books. So the first one I bought is one that I covered on one of my 6 new books videos, and this is the new book from Philip Hensher. Now, the only thing I don't like about this book immediately is the size. This is one of those really short, squatty hardbacks, and this has been on my want list since it came out. The blurb quickly says, on a warm Sunday afternoon, Nazia and Sharif are preparing for a family barbecue. They are in the house in Sheffield that will do for the rest of their lives. In the garden next door is a retired doctor, whose 4 children have long since left home. When the shadow of death passes over Nazia and Sharif's party, Dr. Spinster's actions are going to bring the 2 households together for decades to come. So The Friendly Ones is about 2 families with very different histories that can fit together and redeem each other, spanning decades, with a big and beautifully drawn cast of characters, all making their different way towards lives that have meaning. That sounds right up my street, so I'm really looking forward to getting to that one. The next book is I've wanted since it was announced. I've known about this publication for months now. I was a really big fan of his first book, Sirens, when that came out, and that is of course the wonderful Joseph Knox. So this is his second book featuring the detective Aidan Watts, and I absolutely loved the first one. Sirens appeared on my best books of 2017. This is a lovely copy. I'm not sure if this binding is exclusive to Waterstones where I bought it or not, but they did a similar thing with Sirens last year in the hardback, where they coloured the pages bright red. So The Smiling Man, Joseph Knox. For those of you that have read Sirens, the detective will need no introduction. So disconnected from his history and careless of his future, Detective Aidan Watts has resigned himself to the night shift, an endless cycle of meaningless emergency calls and lonely dead ends, until he and his partner, Detective Inspector Peter Sutcliffe, yes, Peter Sutcliffe, are summoned to the Palace, a vast disused hotel in the centre of a restless, simmering city. There they find the body of a man. He is dead and he is smiling. Wonderful. I absolutely loved Sirens, as I said. This is so, the way that this guy writes is so gritty, and it's so real, and it's just like a breath of fresh air. So really looking forward to getting into that one. The next one I bought is one that I've seen a lot of people reading lately. This is the Holder by Jess Kidd, published by Canongate. This one's been recently covered on the BBC Radio 2 Book Club. Another book that I've just bought because I saw this guy talking about this book on one of our recent trips to Yorkshire. There was a really good programme on. I think it was called it's Open Book. I'm sure it was Open Book that we have here in the UK on Radio 4. And it was taking some Scottish crime writers to Calcutta. Apparently Calcutta in India has a really huge crime fiction scene. Really big crime fiction scene. So they sent over 3 Scottish crime writers over to India to see if they could draw any parallels with writing crime fiction in Scotland as opposed to writing it in India. One of the people featured on this programme was Graham McRae Burnett, and this is a book, again, I featured on one of my 6 books videos, because this is due out in paperback anytime soon. I think it's within the next week or so, but I saw this at half price at Waterstones, The Accident on the A35, which is a book I've seen a lot of in shops, and I've seen a lot of people reading it on the social media sites, and it seems really good, and I can't wait to read it. So it says, there does not appear to be anything remarkable about the fatal car crash on the A35. But one question dogs Inspector Georges Gorski. Where has the victim, an outwardly austere lawyer, been on the night of his death? The troubled Gorski finds himself drawn into a mystery that takes him behind the respectable veneer of the sleepy backwater French town of St. Louis. Excellent. So really, really looking forward to reading that one. The second book is again one I featured on 6 Books. It's Rachel Joyce, The Music Shop. I was a really, really big fan of Harold Fry. I didn't read the follow-up book, and I don't think I read Perfect after that, but really looking forward to getting into a Rachel Joyce book. I really connected with her writing. The next one is also a book that I've seen time and time again on the socials. It's Sally Rooney, Conversations with Friends. Again, half price. This is the hardback, half price in Waterstones. It was in there, you know that for those that shop in Waterstones, they do like a bargain bucket, and it's from half price. So I don't know whether they're seconds, or I don't know whether they're just like disused stock, or whether they ordered too much stock and they're selling it off cheaper. I don't know. Perhaps I know people that watch this that work for Waterstones. Perhaps you can tell me why books end up in their bookish bargain box. But anyway, I'm really glad it did, because this was on my wish list anyway. Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney, published by Faber. The next one is one I saw. I saw Liv from the Book Nook reading this, and this is Almost Love by Louise O'Neill. Not sure what she thought of it in the end, didn't quite catch her sort of closing remarks about it, but I saw she was reading it. The cover intrigued me, the title intrigued me, and it seems really, really good. It's got some really good blurb from writers that I know and respect: Sarah Perry, Cecilia Ahern, Marion Keyes. And it says here, when Sarah falls for Matthew, she falls hard. So it doesn't matter that he's 20 years older, that he sees her only in secret, that slowly but surely she's sacrificing everything else in her life to be with him. Sarah's friends are worried. Her father can't understand how she could allow herself to be treated like this, and she's on the verge of losing her job. But Sarah can't help it. She is addicted to being desired by Matthew, and love is supposed to hurt, isn't it? I love books about love. And I love books about the dangers of love and that sort of suffocating, intense. It's an intriguing passion, isn't it? Love. The next few books are books I've been sent from publishers. So the first one is The Half Sister by Catherine Chanter. Again, I featured this on my 6 Books. So this is published by Canongate. So thank you to Jamie and all the team at Canongate for sending me this. When she was 16, Diana left her unhappy family and set out to make a new life. 25 years later, she has arrived. Recently married to Edmund, she lives with him at his family's historic country home. But when Diana hears that her mother has died, she impulsively asks her estranged half-sister Valerie and her 9-year-old son to stay. The night of the funeral, fueled by wine and years of resentment, the sisters argue and a terrible accident occurs. The foundations of a well-ordered life start to crack and the lies begin to surface. One dangerous secret after another, and then there's the boy watching, waiting. Really intriguing blurb on that book. So the next one is a couple of books from Two Roads. Well, actually, the first one is from John Murray Press, which Two Roads is an imprint of, and I only received this book this morning. So this is Falling Short by Lex Coulton. And the press release, there's the cover. This is not final artwork. This is just a proof edition. And the press release says, so it's got a couple of quotes from Jess Kidd that says, this is a remarkable book, warm, moving and very funny. M.L. Stedman, the author of The Light Between Oceans, says, Falling Short is about how we come to terms with the imperfect shape of our own lives and the lives that touch ours in our search for happiness, taking up the mantle of acute, humane observation from Muriel Spark. It's funny, engaging and beautifully written. So that looks intriguing. I will tell you more about that when I get round to reading it. Thank you to John Murray Press. Okay, I've got some bookie bargains for you as well. So I have been scouting around, or we have been, myself and Vicky have been scouting around the charity shops, and we have got ourselves a few bags of bookie bargains. So the first one, I'm a huge fan of this woman. It's Rose Tremaine, Restoration. This book done incredibly well when it came out. I haven't read it. I've read a few of Rose Tremaine's. I haven't read her historical fiction yet, but I'm really, really looking forward to getting into this one because I have heard such good things. And apparently, I think she's writing a follow-up to this book as we speak. The second book that I got is Howard Jacobson, J. This was published by Jonathan Cape, 2014, so about 4 years ago now, longlisted for the Man Booker Prize in 2014. Set in the future, a world where the past is a dangerous country not to be talked about or visited, Jay is a love story of incomparable strangeness, both tender and terrifying. Jay is a novel to be talked about in the same breath as 1984 and Brave New World, thought-provoking and life-changing. It is like no other novel that Howard Jacobson has written. That sounds really, really good. Ian McEwan, Nutshell. I didn't have this one from him, and Ian McEwan, for those that know me and know this channel, you will know that Ian McEwan, I haven't de-stickered this, this was $1.99 in Oxfam, and I haven't got Nutshell because I didn't think it sounded like my kind of thing, but I might be changing my mind on that. So I've got all of Ian McEwan's books, I had, apart from this one. I'm going to give it a go. I didn't think it was going to be my kind of thing, but I'm going to give it a go because I love Ian McEwan. The second one is just a bit of indulgence really, because I've already got this in paperback, but it's The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton, and I wanted this in hard. I like my favourite books in hardback. It's just one of them weird things about me, and I'm a bit of a completist, so I can now give the paperback copy that I've got of this back to the charity shop and keep this lovely, gorgeously artworked copy of The Miniaturist because I love it. The next one is one that, again, I've been meaning to read this for years and years and years as he tries to scrape this sticker off the book. There we go. Thank you. This is Dodie Smith, I Captured the Castle, a vintage classic, quite an old binding of a vintage classic. But again, over the years, you know those books that you just keep on hearing really good things about, but you never actually get round to either acquiring a copy yourself or getting around to reading them. This is one of those books. It's Dodie Smith, I Captured a Castle. This is a collection of short stories from William Trevor called Cheating at Canasta. I think it's about a dozen, yes, 12 short stories from our greatest living short story writer. I read Love and Summer, a novel by William Trevor last year, and thoroughly enjoyed it. I want to read more William Trevor. I did see in a certain charity shop I went to, I don't know whether it's British Heart Foundation or some hospice shop, but there were a lot of William Trevor books, but the bindings were in such poor condition I didn't buy them. So I am slowly picking up some more William Trevor. I've got The Story of Lucy Galt to read on the shelves, so really looking forward to that one. The next one I've got is another, it's a bit of an indulgence, I know, but it's another Ian McEwan hardback, and it's in this beautiful duck. I will buy anything in duck egg blue, and you probably can't see this because of the light, but it's in a wonderful duck egg blue, and it's the Children Act that I've already got in paperback, and I've read it, and I really enjoyed it because I love the work of Ian McEwan, but I wanted it in hardback, and who can't resist the duck egg blue book cover. Sebastian Faulks, whatever way you want to pronounce it. I tend to say Faulks because I heard his mother being interviewed on TV, and she said Faulks, so if his mum says Faulks, it's not Faulks. Anyway, A Possible Life, an investigation into the nature of shared human experience. It does what any good novel should. It unsettles, it moves, and it forces us to question who we are. Terrified, a young prisoner in the Second World War closes his eyes and pictures himself going out to bat on a sunlit cricket ground in Hampshire. Across the courtyard in the Victorian workhouse, a father too ashamed to acknowledge his son. A skinny girl steps out of a Chevy with a guitar. Her voice sends shivers through the skull. A tightly written, moving and exciting work of fiction. From the pain and drama of those highly peculiar lives emerges a mysterious consolation. The chance to feel your heartbeat in someone else's life. That just sounds one of those amazingly profound books that you either get or you don't. Hopefully I'll get it. I really love what Sebastian Faulks does with his story ideas. Also, we've got I've got a couple of reference books here that I bought in one of these bargain bookshops, one of these new bargain bookshops. It's not The Works, but it's something along those lines, and it's just a couple of reference books really. So the Collins Guide to Good Punctuation, because I'm starting to write a blog now, which I will tell you more about when it launches. I'm making a very dangerous pile of books here. I'll tell you about that more when it launches, but I just wanted to brush up on a few things before the grammar police jump on my back and say, you didn't put an apostrophe here, and that should be a colon and not a semicolon. And the next one is a book that I bought, £2.99, look, for a hardback reference book. Shady Characters, this is called, and this is a book on punctuation marks, but those funny little punctuation marks that we don't use that often. So if you can see this, we've got the pilcrow, the interrobang, the at symbol, the asterisk and dagger, the hyphen, the dash, quotation marks, and it's just like a history of these quotation marks and how they're used. So anyone into typography and language, I've started to get a few books about fonts and typefaces now, but yeah, that seems really interesting as well. Well, that's it for now. I've rambled on long enough, and the rest of them I could have gone on for much longer because I've still got a big pile of books that I haven't hauled for you, but I'll save that for part 2 of this video, which will be out a little bit later in the month. Whatever you're doing this week, enjoy your books, and I will see you back here on Sunday for the first edition of 6 on Sunday. Until then, take care. Bye bye.